as the World Trade Organization Treaty recommended, from 2010 until 2014 will be the finalization of the progressive globalization of the world economies.
After the 1990s East Bloc and USSR dislocation, the world economic model became committed to global capitalist model.
In regard to this new situation, some developed countries had, as goal to make profit.
Pretexting human rights and democracy, the implication of ex-colonial countries in tutoring contestations and developing dissidents in the growing countries.
By providing media support and satellite broadcasting structures and minorities agitating.
See McCarty and the ERP, The Marshall Plan, The New World Map Vol. 1, Part 1 by Kamal FOUAD. See The New World Map, Vol. 1 by Kamal FOUAD, The New World Map Vol. 1, Part 2 by Kamal FOUAD. See Kamal FOUAD Statement on the World Current Situation, The New World Map Vol. 2 by Kamal FOUAD.
1988, France. François Mitterrand was re-elected President of France. Jacques Chirac resigned from the head of the cabinet. Michel Rocard succeeded him, then the Socialist Party obtained a relative parliamentary majority. In 1981, the Socialist Party leader, François Mitterrand, was elected President of France and the left won the legislative election. However, in 1986, President Mitterrand was forced to cohabit with a conservative cabinet led by the RPR leader Jacques Chirac. Chirac took responsibility for domestic policy, while the president focused on his reserved domain and foreign affairs and defense policy.
1990, the United Kingdom. John Major won the party leadership contest on the 27th of November 1990, and his appointment led to an almost automatic boost in Conservative fortunes. 6 days before Mrs. Thatcher's resignation, polls had shown the Conservatives to be 11 points behind Labour. An election had to be held within the next 18 months. But 1991 was a year of electoral uncertainty, as the Conservatives and Labour regularly swapped places at the top of the opinion polls, and Major resisted Neil Kinnock's numerous calls for an immediate election. The election was finally held on 9 April 1992 and the Conservatives won. Even though the economy was still in recession and most of the pollsters had predicted either a Labour win or a hung parliament,
Major's vigorous campaigning was seen to have been crucial in his election win, in which he became the first prime minister to attract 14 million votes in a general election, as was a high-profile campaign by the Sun newspaper against Labour leader Neil Kinnock, who resigned in the aftermath of the election to be succeeded by John Smith.
In fact, the bipolar electoral model was compromised by the abandonment of the left-wing political roots and foundments. After 1990, in the United Kingdom, the conservative right wing was hounded by the federated Liberals, while the left-wing Labour was declination of a multiplicity of small formations from left and far left or extreme left.
(1995) France. Presidential elections took place in France on 23 April and the 7th of May 1995, to elect the fifth president of the Fifth Republic. The incumbent socialist president, François Mitterrand, did not stand for a third term. He had been cohabiting with a conservative cabinet led by Edouard Balladur, a member of the neo-Gaullist RPR. The competition within the right between Balladur and Chirac was a major component of the campaign. 1994, the United Kingdom.
The Conservative government was also increasingly accused in the media of sleaze. Their support reached its lowest ebb in late 1994, after the death of Labour Party leader John Smith and the election of Tony Blair as his successor. The Labour lead was gradually narrowed over the next 2 years, as the Conservatives gained some credit for the strong economic recovery and fall in unemployment. An effective opposition campaign by the Labour Party culminated in a landslide defeat for the Conservatives in 1997 that was Labour's largest ever parliamentary victory.
The 1997 election left the Conservative Party with MPs in just England, all remaining seats in Scotland and Wales having been lost and not a single seat having been gained anywhere.
Some right-wing political formations started a non-democratic preach, pretexting caricatural disposition of facts and distorted analysis. On the other hand, left-wing political formations choose to build a new democratic model by the influences on developing countries founded on human right pressure, condensation backup and multiplying transparency criteria.
(2002) France. The 2002 French presidential election consisted of a first-round election on 21 April 2002 and a runoff election between the top two candidates, Jacques Chirac and Jean-Marie Le Pen, on the 5th of May 2002. This presidential contest attracted a greater than usual amount of international attention because of Le Pen's unexpected victory over socialist candidate Lionel Jospin and subsequent appearance in the runoff election. (2002) The United Kingdom. The new Labour brand was developed to regain trust from the electorate and to portray a departure from old Labour, which was criticized for its breaking of election promises and its links with trade unions and the state. The new Labour brand was used to communicate the party's modernization to the public. It was coordinated by Alastair Campbell, who centralized the party's communications and used his experience in journalism to achieve positive media relations. In 2002, following criticism from Philip Gould, Blair announced the need to reinvent the brand based on a unified domestic policy and greater assertion in foreign affairs. Following the leadership of Neil Kinnock and John Smith, the party under the new Labour brand attempted to widen its electoral appeal and, by the 1997 general election, had made significant gains in the upper and middle classes. Labour maintained this wider support in the 2001 and 2005 elections. New Labour has been influenced by the political thinking of Anthony Crosland, the leadership of Tony Blair and Gordon Brown, and Peter Mandelson's and Alastair Campbell's media campaigning. The political philosophy of New Labour was influenced by the party's development of Anthony Giddens' Third Way, which attempted to provide a synthesis between capitalism and socialism. The party emphasized the importance of social justice, rather than equality, emphasizing the need for equality of opportunity, and believed in the use of free markets to deliver economic efficiency and social justice. Trade unionist and journalist Jimmy Reid criticized Labour for failing to achieve equality, and argued that Labour's acceptance of market economics had curtailed social justice.
In that circumstances, the political adaptations of such civil society did not pin in an equation to the new political polarity of the New World Map, as resulted after 1990.
Journalists and politicians then claimed that polls had failed to predict his second-place finish in the general election, though Le Pen's strong stance could be seen in the week prior to the election. This led to serious discussions about polling techniques and the climate of French politics. In 2002, Anthony Giddens, a leading architect of the third way political philosophy, named Spin as New Labour's biggest failure, but commended the party's success in certain policy areas and at marginalizing the Conservative Party.
Some of resulted parastatal structures and non-government organizations were directed against the WDO and its recommendations, claiming dissonance between the North and South and the non-viability of the WDO treaty for Southern countries. During decades, the developing countries had to evolve it, the way that observing the developed countries' internal tensions and contentions between a right wing looking for aspirating perspective and a left wing improvising a restructured political message to propose to electors.
– 2007, France. The 2007 French presidential election, the 9th of the Fifth French Republic, was held to elect the successor to Jacques Chirac as President of France for a 5-year term. The winner, decided on 5 and 6 May 2007, was Nicolas Sarkozy. The first round of voting took place on Saturday, 21 April 2007, French territories in the Americas and the Eastern Pacific, and Sunday, 22 April 2007, French territories in the Western Pacific, Indian Ocean, and metropolitan France.
As no candidate obtained a majority, 50% plus 1, a second round between the two leading candidates took place on Saturday, the 5th of May and Sunday, the 6th of May 2007.
– 2007, the United Kingdom. Tony Blair resigned as Prime Minister and was replaced by his Chancellor, Gordon Brown. Although the party experienced a brief rise in the polls after this, its popularity soon slumped to its lowest level since the days of Michael Foot. During May 2008, Labour suffered heavy defeats in the London mayoral election, local elections and the loss in the Crewe and Nantwich by-election, culminating in the party registering its worst ever opinion poll result since records began in 1943, of 23%, with many citing Brown's leadership as a key factor.
Being disqualified from the progress projecting of their own countries and by their own political representatives. The developing countries' populations and society activists started a protestation movement against the arriviste and opportunism. As encouraged by this left-right wing's political belligerent episode, since 2005 and by the arriving of the year 2010. Blaming the distorted political landscape, as resulted, many enslaved administration and regimes to such political neo-imperialism has been removed and substituted by democratic initiatives, as in Iraq and Afghanistan, or by adhesion to this alternative as in Libya, Tunisia, Egypt, Côte d'Ivoire, Yemen, and also Haiti, Central African Republic and Madagascar. The neo-colonial policy disposition used to promote contestations in the subordinated countries in order to evaluate it in front of its electoral population inside or to negotiate international organization recommendations and resolutions. This so presented democracy promotion is based on truncated criteria. By the distortion of the resulted politician landscape, as, after the first war in Iraq, Somalia or Sudan. even aborting democratic attempts to build local civil society, as in Uganda, Congo, Zaire, Senegal or Niger. Sometime pretexting the protection of the so-called civil society, as in Chad, Rwanda or Mali. In some cases redefining the criteria of this civil society punctually, as in Turkey, Namibia, Cambodia, or Eastern Timor, also in Bolivia, Cuba, both and or Thailand.